It's just not what we're about as Americans. Americans cherish the faith of every person, the freedom of conscience of every person, to believe or not to believe, according to the dictates of their conscience and their traditions. And I commend you for upholding that principle. And I'll make you a promise. Under this president and this administration, we will always stand with people of faith. We will always defend the freedom of religion of every American of every faith. So help us God. Back in 2016, this president promised that he would, in his words, defend your religious liberties and the right to fully and freely practice your religion as individuals, business owners, and academic institutions, and that's exactly what he's done. We've taken action to protect the conscience rights of doctors and nurses in this administration. After years of neglect, we restored federal enforcement of our nation's conscience laws, and we ended the last administration's assault on the little sisters of the poor. And as the president said just a few days ago here in this White House, we believe the freedom of speech should not end at the front door of our churches and places of worship. That's why we ended enforcement of the Johnson Amendment, and we will continue to work to repeal the Johnson Amendment once and for all. You know, you think about the freedom of speech at the pulpits of this nation. Maybe when Bill Bennett takes to this podium tonight, having written some of the most important histories of the founding of this country, he can tell you how important those pulpits were when we first claimed our freedom in 1776. We've also gone to court to protect the right of religious expression in the public square. It's amazing to think decades ago, a 40-foot cross was built in Bladensburg, Maryland, to commemorate men who died fighting for our freedom in World War I. And for years, that cross stood tall and true, a symbol of our nation's gratitude to those heroes. But recently, left-wing activists threatened to tear it down. But in this administration, we stood for the Peace Cross in Maryland. And last week, by a 7-2 vote, the Supreme Court of the United States said the Peace Cross of Maryland can stay. That's a win. So we've stood for liberty, for the rule of law and the foundation of our constitutional liberties. But let me tell you from the bottom of my heart, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. I mean, in one of the president's very first acts, he reinstated the Mexico City policy to make sure that taxpayer dollars wouldn't be used to promote abortion overseas, or to promote or provide abortion overseas or around the world. And I was honored to cast the tie-breaking vote and to watch the president sign legislation that allowed states across the country to defund Planned Parenthood. And speaking of the nation's largest abortion provider, we all remember back in 2015 when those chilling undercover videos were on the airwaves of the nation that showed horrific conversations about the sale and transfer of parts of aborted babies. So I want to be sure you know. Just a few weeks ago, President Donald Trump ended fetal tissue research at the National Institute of Health.